I've received a lot of comments about something I mentioned in the video I put out yesterday on the unexplained pyramid in France. Specifically, it's a comment that I made about the suppressed history of the Irish and Gaelic people and their connection with ancient Egypt. It's a very real thing if you know where to look, but to be honest with you, I'm not really surprised that you haven't heard about it. I don't know what the education system is like in Ireland, but here in the States, we get lied to constantly. So I'm disappointed, but not surprised that you guys haven't heard about this. The rare book that I mentioned is a 14th century work called the Auraicept n-Éces, and it gives a true, uncensored history of the creation of the Gaelic language. For many centuries, it was considered the official history of the creation of the Gaelic language and Ogham script. In these times of deliberate confusion and lies, it's completely written off if it's even mentioned at all. And let's just be completely frank, it's because there is a political agenda and has been against the Irish and Scots. Their legitimacy as heirs to an ancient wisdom and ancient lineages is undermined and slandered and defamed at every turn by those who see them as competition. The Auraicept gives the history of King Phineas, who goes to Egypt with a group of scholars to create the first school of comparative linguistics. It's an alternative, factual history of the fall of the Tower of Babel and the confusion of languages, if you know how to read it. According to legend, Nimrod, the king of Babylon, commanded that they build a tower to reach the heavens. But Phineas did not join this act of defiance. Instead, he sent scholars to study the emerging languages as they were being created and dispersed. And when the confusion of languages occurred and God separated everything into 72 different languages, Phineas seized on the opportunity to create one universal language that could work for everybody and across all cultures. And he established his school of languages near the tower, and it became known as the School of Phineas. And when Nimrod's builders scattered, Phineas stayed in the land of Shinar with his scholars. He assigned men to every one of the different languages so they could consolidate information, and they compared grammar and vocabulary and pronunciation and combined them. The result was the Gaelic language, a language that could be used to communicate across all others. Now I get it, that just sounds like some hand-wavy legendary nonsense based around some imaginary religious crap, but it's not. And I need to decode what I'm telling you here. If you were brought up suckling on a Bible tit, you were undoubtedly propagandized to believe that this mythical land of Shinar and the Tower of Babel were in Mesopotamia, and they were not. I have another rare original map here from the collection that shows where the Tower of Babel actually was. Here we go. Let's take a quick look. Beautiful old map, right? Let me read it for you. It says, Kairos Oveolum Babylon Egypti Maxima Urbis. Cairo, which was then called Babylon, the main city of Egypt. And what this shows is that when they made this map, it was still common knowledge that Cairo was called Babylon before it was called Cairo. And what does this mean? It means that the big-ass fake mountains that they built on the outskirts of Cairo, that we call the pyramids, specifically the Great Pyramid, may have been the actual Tower of Babel. Oh, there goes Museum Atero just making things up again. He's clearly crazy. No, I'm not. Let's take a look at Wallace Budge's Egyptian hieroglyphic dictionaries. And let's take a look at if there's any equivalent to Shinar in this dictionary. And oh boy, look, there it is. It's page 1040. And we've got Shinar means the irrigated land of Memphis. Memphis was just outside of Cairo, and the Giza complex was considered the necropolis for Memphis. And if you take into account that Egyptian didn't use vowels, and if we take the vowels out here that Budge put in here, and we take Shinar, and we make it just the consonants, it's Shinar. It's phonetically the same word. We are told explicitly that Phineas went to Egypt to create Gaelic, and that he went to Shinar. But that doesn't make any sense because those are supposedly two completely different places. So I would argue that the Shinar that they're talking about is this Shinar, Memphis, Saqqara, and the Giza Plateau. Okie dokie. Now that we know how much we've been lied to, let's look at what else the Auraicept said. The Auraicept also describes how Phineas' son married the pharaoh's daughter, Princess Scota, and they created a group that migrated out of Egypt through Iberia and up to the British Isles. And Princess Scota later became the namesake of the Scots and Scotland. And the Auraicept is not the only original, unsanitized book that mentions this. Here's a list that you can all look up for yourselves. So what does all this mean? Well, I continually see this silly game that mainstream historians and archaeologists play, where they downplay just how similar words are between different cultures, and they say they couldn't possibly have had any connection, it's just a coincidence. In fact, these geeks seem to have a real boner about downplaying how much people love to travel, and love to communicate, and love to get along, and interact with one another. It's one big propaganda campaign to get you to think that people weren't doing this all through history. Completely flies in the face of logic, reason, and reality of how people really are. And what the Auraicept specifically describes is how Gaelic was designed to do exactly what the historians say was not being done. That Gaelic comprised all of the different sounds that were in the various languages, the 72 languages that they compiled, and it was meant to be a universal language that could be used to communicate across all of them. And this is why you'll see the Ogham script all over the ancient world, from China to North America, where it's written on walls in West Virginia and on standing stones in the Northeast that I have personally been to. These cultures may have been separate, but they were not apart from one another. People traveled and interacted and communicated all through history. The moral of the story is that if Phineas created a way for people to communicate and get along, and he spread that wisdom in ancient times, then we can do it again today, and that is a very dangerous idea to some. The Auraicept and the other books that I mentioned have been massively suppressed, but there were a few printings 100 years ago. This copy is something I picked up many years ago. This is from 1917, and I sat down just before I shot this video to see if there were any of these up for sale on the used book markets, on eBay, AbeBooks, etc., and I wasn't able to find any, so I'm extremely blessed and lucky to have this. And if you'd like me to reprint this and offer it for sale, let me know in the comments. And if you have any more questions on this, I've probably done more research on this and sought out more of the original evidence and original books and works than damn near anybody. Jump in the comments and I'll do my best to get you the receipts and answer any questions you might have. I consider this an extremely important topic, far more important than just historical trivia. If you don't know where you came from, you can't know where you are or where you're going. We are a destabilized people. We are being stripped of our sense of self, our sense of identity, and it's being done deliberately. So if you'd like more information on our true history and just how much we are all being lied to, make sure to check out museumoftarot.com and some of our suppressed book reprints. And be sure to let me know if you'd like me to republish the Auraicept n-Éces.